Hey, well, welcome back, everybody. This is Team Spirit, and I'm Lauren.
I'm Carrie.
And I'm Emily.
And this week we are talking about self-love because we all need it and we all don't do it enough. I know I
That's so
don't.
true. Don't either. I'm getting better at it though, but
Well, since you're
it's
getting better
a
at it,
process.
tell us all about it, Carrie.
I mean, I think that I've with my self-love journey, it's been like any other journey. There's peaks and valleys, And I think for me, like the biggest piece is really having like body positivity, like really working to heal a lot of those traumas of what society makes us feel like we need to look like. And I've always been a bigger girl. I've never really been like petite or tiny. And then after having two kids within 18 months, my body completely changed. So then I had to like really try to change my mindset around my view of myself. And I've just been really getting to this point where I've always like done diets and I've always done like I would diet and then I would binge and I would diet and I would binge and I would lose a bunch of weight, I would gain a bunch of weight. And it was just kind of like this back and forth cycle that I was in that I couldn't really break free from. And I've realized, and I know Emily can speak a lot on this too, but like with our conversations, that it's not really about the dieting or being really hard on yourself, but it's really about changing your mindset about where you are right now and loving yourself through whatever phase that you're in. And I think that that's been really helpful for me is like really just trying to accept my body as it is right now, but still having a healthy goal of where I want to be, but not like living in that and obsessing over that. And then getting into this like self-sabotage mindset when I do have a bad eating day, or I don't go for, or I'm not in the mood for walking and I kind of fall off the bandwagon instead of like being really hard on myself about that, just really trying to show compassion. And I think that that really gets applied to anything like in general, when it comes to self-love, it's really all about showing yourself compassion and grace and understanding. And, we're human and we all have our good days and we all have our bad days, but self-love is how do you treat yourself on those bad days? And, what are the things that you say to yourself? What's the narrative? Are you talking poorly about yourself or are you comforting yourself through those bad days? And that's a lot of what shadow work is too, I think, is just really like being there for yourself, even when you're not too happy with your behaviors in that moment. It's just really about showing yourself some love. So that's really what I've been trying to just consciously do. And self-love for me is like lately, it's really just about releasing guilt for having time for myself, to try to fuel my body with healthy things and just try to treat my body the way that I should and have that mindset versus, oh, I need to do this to lose X amount of weight. Like it's just a different way of thinking. And that's really been like my biggest focus is like resting when I need to and really just honoring my body. Like that's been the biggest thing for me lately is just honoring my body.
I love that
So
you said about how you show up for yourself on your bad days, and that's where the self-love, like I've never even thought of about that, and that is where I think a lot of the spiraling happens because you're not even thinking about it. Like when on my
right.
bad days, I'm just like, well, it's all over.
I
Maybe
suck.
tomorrow, whatever. Yeah, and
Yeah.
it's that little grace that you can have for yourself in those moments is self-love.
Yeah. And I talk to myself a lot out loud. I know Emily
Oh,
does too,
same.
but like that really helps. Like I had a really rough day with the kids a couple days ago because I think it was on Thursday. I forget what day it was. And I lost my patience a couple of times and it was just like we were not vibing. Like it was just not a vibe. Like we were not in good moods. And I like they were in a bad mood, I was in a bad mood, everybody was just in a bad mood. And like later, I was kind of starting to spiral and I was like starting to think about, my God, I'm a terrible mom. Like I'm so lucky to be able to have these moments with my kids and I take them for granted. And then that narrative was just like horrific. And I just kind of like was able to pause for a minute and be like, you know what? You haven't slept in 3 nights straight. You're exhausted. You're literally running on -50, like you're not going to be perfect. You're sleep deprived. Like it's okay. They love you, they forgive you, they understand. And it's like that goes such a long way. Like such a long way.
Mhm.
But you have to be aware in those moments. And that's the hard thing is like kind of snapping yourself out of it.
Yeah, I feel like, why am I talking? A lot of times I think, would I talk to someone else like this? Like, if
Yeah.
I
I
wouldn't
do
talk to
too.
someone else, yeah, like, if I'm not gonna talk to someone like this, why should I talk to myself this way?
Right. Right.
I think a lot of people just think self-love is like, and it is like going to get a massage or going to get your
Right.
nails done or go, and those things are self-love, like
For sure.
1000%. But let's go a little bit deeper than that too. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the hard part because you kind of feel like, okay, I went and I got a massage, everything's better now. It's deeper than that. And so then when we're like, well, that didn't fix it, we feel like self-love doesn't do it. And it's just like there's the kindness to ourselves, not just the tending to like our aches and pains and things like that, and like taking a nap, like you said, super important. And that builds your energy and your ability to give yourself more self-love, but like the kindness and the words and the actions, it's where it's at. That's hard. I'm so bad at it.
I know. So where are you guys on your self-love journey?
Emily, you go.
I would say, well, I just finished this workbook for women. It's all about self-love. You know, a lot of it was tough. Like a lot of it isn't beautiful. It's not fun. It's not, happy. A lot of it is shadow work. A lot of it is having to do uncomfortable things like setting boundaries with people in order to show yourself love. A lot of it is like healing things that in the past, you would beat yourself up about. So, like you said, it's not just the things that we can do for ourselves externally, but it's also what we do for ourselves internally. And I noticed that of course, my biggest issue with self love was loving the physical part of me, like my body, my looks. That was the hardest part because I'm somebody that it's all or nothing. I'm either dieting and exercising or I'm not at all and just eating whatever I want. Like there's no balance. And that's something that I need to work on. But I feel like, especially for women, that is just something that we're always going to have to battle with is how we look and appreciating our bodies. And the book even said you don't have to love your body every day. You just get to the point of tolerating it, like being indifferent. And that just blew my mind because I never thought, again, it was all or nothing. It was either I love my body or I hate my body. There's no in between. There's no like, I'm okay with you today, and that's okay to just be okay with yourself. It's okay to not be okay with yourself. That's where I'm at right now, just trying to dig deep and heal the things that I don't like about myself.
It is
And it's a,
interesting the way that we like talk to and about our bodies. And like there's
Yes.
one instructor I work with a lot, and her one of her big things is thanking your body for the things that you're able to do.
Yes.
Like, and that was
I
that
do
was a
that.
big, yeah, that was a big change for me to be like,
Mhm.
instead of constantly being like, this needs to change, I don't like this, why don't you look like this anymore? It's
Right.
thank you ma for making me be able to do this. And noticing those changes kind of helped me do more,
Right.
especially
yeah,
with like training and stuff. And I'm like, okay, like I can notice these differences because I'm consciously being grateful for them.
right.
Absolutely. And another thing that I noticed by doing that workbook is that I attributed my looks to romantic partners as well.
Mhm.
Like that was where if they thought I was beautiful, then I must be beautiful. And it's like, no, that's not how it works at all. And I'm single, and a lot of us, want to look as perfect as we can to attract a mate. But I'm kind of to the point where if the person doesn't think I look good as is, then I don't want them anyway.
Right. Yeah,
I'm
no.
not gonna starve myself and beat myself up to look a certain way so that I can attract someone, because why would I want that kind of a person? You
Right.
know, I've suffered with eating disorders, and I don't want to go back there just to find somebody to love me. Like it's ridiculous. So that's another thing that I feel like I've conquered,
Yeah.
is not caring what a guy thinks I look like.
Yeah.
That is,
I just
and that
don't
is
care.
so hard. Did you guys watch Love is Blind?
Yes.
The,
I
I
watched the
only,
first season.
I've only seen the last season because like everybody was talking about it, which was honestly fantastic. Loved it. But I really loved how seriously they take the concept of getting to know people before seeing them, especially in a time when that's how people date. You're dating by seeing someone on your screen and going yes or
Yes,
no, and by looks first. Like a lot of
exactly.
people, you're not even reading. Like I've seen people just be like, no, 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 no. And like they don't even look at
Yep.
their profile, nothing. I'm like, what if that first picture was just like a weird angle or just like did it? I don't know.
Right?
Like I've never used a dating app, so I don't know. But I just feel like it has to be incredibly hard when looks is number
Every.
one. It seems,
Oh, I
yeah,
think
it seems
about
to
that
be
all the
literally
time.
everything.
Exactly. I would love to meet someone organically and not just judging them on their looks right away.
Yeah. And I know it was interesting that so many of them are so young. They're like in their 20s. But then, like, as
Mhm.
I was talking about it, I was like, I don't, probably none of them have dated organically because those
Ooh.
apps had been around by the time they started dating.
Yes.
Like,
So
and so
true.
there's this new way, like maybe even if people sort of dated organically in college or high school, you still have a connection in some sort of way. Like that organic outside of those like circles don't really exist
Yeah.
anymore. And it's
No.
that I think that is why self-love is so much more important these days, is
Yeah.
so we're not getting caught up in the superficial of it all. It's superficial.
It is. Oh,
Very.
100%.
And it just further conditioned society to base people on their looks. That's all it does.
Mhm. Yeah. And all we're doing is, we're posting on social, we're doing this and I do it too. If I take like I open my phone to do a thing and I'm like, oh, gotta
Yeah, same.
right? And it's like I don't have to, but there's the conditioning of needing to.
Right.
And it's so when we first moved here, my mom brought like some of my stuff from like my childhood room over, and I had like this box. It used to be my toy box, but then like when I got older, it became like my magazine box and stuff. I was mortified. Like I guess I kind of forgot the things that we were being fed with like how skinny. And then even in our
Yep.
like our 17 magazines was how to be
Yep.
skinnier, how to look better for a boy, how to like,
Yes.
and I was just like,
I
we
know.
never stood a chance. Oh my God.
Mm-mm.
Like
No,
we never stood a chance when we
And
were
no.
I had
so
all
young
of those
being like,
magazines too, Lauren. All
Oh,
of
yes,
them.
same.
did. And that's what's so crazy is no wonder we are so scared. Like I don't like looking in the mirror. I hate it. I will
Me
do anything to
same.
avoid like looking at myself because
Hmm.
I just nitpick the second I do.
I
And
know.
it's just in there. Because at 14 we
I
were being
know.
told to.
Yep.
And how uncomfortable do compliments make everyone in the room?
Oh
Raise your
my
hand.
God.
Oh,
Awful. I hate
yeah.
them.
Oh, and it's so silly. It's so, or like when people say something about your clothes and why can't we just say thank you?
Instead of like,
Oh,
oh, it
it's
was
so
only
cheap.
$5.
Yeah, so
So
cheap.
old. It's so old. Like,
Right.
or, yeah, it's so weird how we
Well,
don't,
because that's a whole nother thing. You have to look a certain way, but you can't appreciate the way that you look. You can't be confident
You can't
because
take
then
pride in it.
you can't
Mhm.
take pride in it because then you're shallow or then you have an ego. Like
Yeah.
there's literally no way to win.
You
Like
No.
you
can't
can't feel yourself. Like you can't.
Nope.
insert that Barbie monologue. here.
but then they want
Right.
confidence, but you
Yep,
can't be too confident.
because then you're
Right.
cocky. Yeah,
And
it's such
arrogant.
a
I know.
yucky line. And obviously men face it too, but I feel like they don't, maybe they don't hold the guilt with it. And they're like, oh, thanks. And they just
They
move
just
along. I'm like, how do I do that? Can someone
Well, and it's much simpler for them. They can just take a shower, throw on some clothes. Most of
like
them
it's
don't even have to run a brush through their hair because it's short enough and
they
go
can
on
just
their
flick
way.
some water. Yeah, it's
They
so
can
funny.
use
Like
the
I
same soap
have
for everything.
two in five in one. Oh my God.
I
But
know.
and that somehow doesn't work the same on us.
It
I've
doesn't.
tried. What why?
I know. It doesn't.
It
It's
is like I
wild.
have seen men be like, you said they get a compliment and they're like, dude, don't I? And I'm like, how
Dude, my
I remember
husband,
that.
this is when he looks nice and he's like getting ready in the mirror and he's like combing his hair and he's all dressed. I have seen him do shotguns.
Stop it. Stop.
He's
Stop it.
like, I want that. I want to do that.
That's
Right.
hilarious.
Instead of pulling at myself and I'm like, okay, if my shirt sits just here, you won't see any
Right?
of my
Right. That's what I
organs.
do. Yes.
Yeah, my organs that are keeping me living. No, cannot see them. No, no.
So how do we overcome this, ladies? Like, so what do you suggest to the listeners of how do you get started on your self-love journey, and what are some things that you guys have done that have really helped, or just anything you want to share to help people that may be struggling with self-love? Okay.
Ah, it's so hard
It
because we all
is.
struggle and it's really hard when you're in that struggling phase. Like I will admit I am not doing so great on my self-love these days. And
It's
mostly
okay.
it's because of external things. And
Yeah.
so I feel like it's last because there's so like the things that are happening right now are so much more important externally than what I feel like I need to take care of internally. But I think just little conscious things of like, I haven't been thinking very well of myself. Maybe I should talk to my doctor. Maybe I should bring this up to a therapist. Like those little tiny things, those 10-30 minute things. Like sometimes it's 30 minutes a week or an hour a week. That's not that much time. And so when we kind of break it down into these smaller increments, or even like, so one of the things that we're having a really hard time with is like our new dog. And so I've turned into, if part of her training is to get her to calm down and get exercise, we will exercise together. So now, like, I wasn't doing my like training and routines while we first got her. And even like when our last dog was like sick. And so now I can take that time back and it's just adding her in because I was doing it
Yeah.
before. And it felt
Yeah.
so hard to have that again because I was so focused on all these other things. But just these working in these little ways of things that we're already doing that feel important and then adding ourselves in even a tiny little portion, I think
Yeah.
has gotten me back on track. Like that's kind of where it's just those tiny little seconds of
Sweet. Yep. Those little things. They
yeah,
add up.
they really do.
Mhm.
It changes so much and
Hmm.
it does a lot, even though they're so small. They feel, well, it feels small, it's huge.
Yeah. I love that. And you just keep building on that.
Right. Right. Because then you're like, this feels really good. I should keep this up. And then the keeping up is the hard part. The
Yeah.
answer to that,
Mhm.
I don't know.
Yeah. Right.
I think it's just all lies in like a lot of conscious, kind effort. Because that consciousness can slip real quickly into guilt or annoyance that you haven't been doing like so fast.
Yeah.
Mhm.
What about
It's
you
like,
guys? What do you think?
So obviously, I know that not all of our listeners are female. We appreciate our males out there.
Yes, we do
I
love
have,
you. We don't mean to
yes,
pick on you so much, but we
no,
do love you.
Yeah, I haven't been able to find one for a male. I'm pretty sure she makes one for teens too, but it's the self-love workbook for women, and it's by Megan Logan. She's a master of social work and licensed social worker. So this really kind of changed the game for me. This is the first thing that I have completed ever, because I am one that will start things like journals and workbooks and programs, get halfway through, and then never do it again. So what I did is I didn't make myself do this all the time. Sometimes it would sit for weeks, other times I'd do it every day. It just depended on how I felt, and then I'd pick it back up. And I think that in and of itself is self-love, not forcing because I feel like when you're forcing yourself, if you're not feeling it and you're just forcing yourself, then it's really not doing anything for you. Right. And I guess I'll just talk about it now, Lauren. But Becky, who has been a guest on this show, and we are going to be launching a self-love course this summer, a lot based on this book, because there's tons and tons of exercises in here that I found very helpful. I'd say the most helpful are writing letters to yourself, forgiving yourself, showing appreciation to yourself, and also like to see like through the exercises that you're not alone. You're not alone. Like there's so many things that she wrote in here, and I'm like, holy crap, like that's actually a thing. Like I'm not just the only one, like so
Mhm.
it did a lot more than just provide a workbook to do things. It really dug deep, and it changed my mindset and my perception on a lot. So I really do highly suggest this to any woman. And like I said, I think they make one for teens as well. No men yet, but hopefully she makes one soon.
Well, I'm sure for your class is really for anybody. I think as you were saying that, I was thinking about how like guided things, other people, communities really is a good place to start because it often feels lonely.
Yes.
Mhm.
So I'm really glad you said that because I think that is really the starting point.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I love that. It is a really good book, and it helped me heal a lot with the relationship I have with my mom too. She was, and it realizing that it was the way that she was raised, and that just a cycle of generations. And she actually read through this without me knowing. I left it out, and she's nosy, and a lot of it had to do with her and the things that were said. And since I've done this workbook, she's never once commented on my body.
Wow.
Let Yeah,
So it
can we
healed
talk
her
about
in a
that real
way.
quick?
Healed
Yeah,
her in a way too.
it is insane how it is still 2024. No, how it is 2024, and we are still commenting on other people's bodies. And it is mostly older people. And I have had to have the conversation with some people to be like, please stop commenting on my body. Even when it's oh, you look so good. Did you lose weight? No, and please don't. That's not, don't
Ugh,
say that to me.
I
Don't
know.
do not say that to me.
That triggers me. Yeah, it triggers me
Yes.
when people say it to me or to other people.
Yes, because now, like, okay, so the last time, like, I think it's inappropriate. It really is. And I know it most likely is coming from a best of intentions and maybe they don't know what to say. However, there's a trillion other things you can ask instead of just commenting on someone's body.
Right.
Or
Or
how
maybe
about just saying to
just,
somebody, look, you look so healthy. You're
Right.
glowing.
yeah,
Yeah.
you look great.
Why
You
does
look
it
so
have
happy.
Yeah, like why does it have to be about weight? Why is weight even coming into the equation? That's so personal. But
Yeah.
if somebody came up to me and let's just say I did drop weight and somebody said to me, "Oh my God, you look so healthy and you look so happy and you're glowing," it would make my day.
Yeah.
Right. I don't, there's
It's like
something
don't
about,
be so because it's weight, because it's such a sensitive thing.
Hmm.
right.
Like it's like kind of like, oh, was I ugly before? Like that, you know what I mean?
Yes.
But to
Mhm.
to show like, oh, like I can see you're so confident. you know, like that kind of stuff. And I've read things because I'm raising a daughter, you know, and I want to definitely do things differently and I want to be very aware. And oh my gosh, you're so strong. Look how strong you are.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Like that kind of stuff, you know, goes such a long way.
Or
And
even like
like,
a that dress was made for you.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
What the little dance I will do for that?
But I think what happens is that like when you lose a lot of weight, and this has happened to me, I mean, it's been a while, but I mean, I lost 60 pounds in 2011. And I mean, I was down to like it for me, it was very thin, like 150. I remember like all of a sudden, all of this attention that I never had gotten before, like all these compliments, and it was
Mhm.
always focused on just the weight loss,
Right.
just the weight loss. You know, like it was never things like we were just talking about, like how I was happier, you know, was I really? No, because I didn't do this work.
Right. Right.
I didn't work out this muscle to
Mm.
decondition around like you know, you think like, oh, you'll lose all this weight and then all of a sudden your life is the best and everything's great and you're happy. And that's not the case. It's like we truly like this creates our own happiness. That
Right.
you can be happy by really just deciding to be happy, but it takes a lot of work to be able to decide to be happy. You know what I mean? Like it's also
Yes.
not
Mhm.
that easy. Is it that
Yeah.
easy? It can be, but you have to do work to get there.
Yeah, there's countless conversations I've seen where people talk that at their thinnest, they were their most mentally unwell. And I
Oh
Oh,
think
yeah.
it comes with that sudden recognition, and all of a sudden you're like, wow, I must have looked horrible all this time. I looked horrible. And then you're kind of like stuck in this past part. And well, if I'm skinny now, why don't I feel better? And it
yeah.
like it's
Right.
really, oh.
I
But
mean,
it's
for
also
me, how I lost that weight was so unhealthy. I mean, I was literally, first of all, I was eating 800 calories a day. I was working out every day for an hour. I was drinking like you would not believe because I was masking so much of my unhappiness.
Mhm.
Taking
Mhm.
Adderall unprescribed, like let's just be real vulnerable here, like every single day, Adderall, Adderall, Adderall. And I dropped weight, of course,
Sure.
obviously, but my anxiety was like full blown panic attacks every single day. Like so like just crippling. And I'm
Yeah.
like, I couldn't understand like, well, Carrie, because you're not treating your body right. Like
Right.
this is
Mhm.
Yeah.
not this what uh and yeah, it was miserable.
Yeah, it's because those
Yeah.
are the superficial things. Yeah,
But
it
nobody
is.
saw that.
Nope.
They just
Look
saw
at
that I
how, yeah, look at
yeah,
how much they lost. Oh my God, they look so good.
yep.
Yeah.
And then once you get down to that thinnest you've ever been, then there's the pressure to stay there because if you gain even an ounce, then you're back to the person you must have been before you lost that weight.
And
And
whenever,
it's
yeah.
just, ugh, it's
Yep.
horrible. I'm
Yep, it
battling
is.
that now. I had weight loss surgery. I guess if we're being vulnerable, I had weight loss surgery, which led to an eating disorder. But, I'm terrified to gain any of it back.
Yeah.
And I've gained some of it back, which I've needed to. But there's still that fear, like, what if I just keep going? Like being thin, people does not solve any problem. None.
Nope.
Yeah.
It might give you external confidence for a little bit, but that's
It's because of that external validation, and then it
right.
just
Right.
fades, like a fart in
It-
the wind. It fades.
exactly, it's gone. And why do you like we don't need external validation,
No,
it should
and
come
that's
from within.
self-love. That is really
Right.
the essence of self-love is internal
Exactly.
validation.
Yes, that's
Exactly.
the absence. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm. That's when you need self-love the most.
Mm-hmm.
I saw a really beautiful video yesterday, and and you know, people can be so hateful online, like we all know that, and
Yes.
it can just be atrocious. And you have to remember, like, okay, well, they're miserable. I mean, obviously they are so miserable that they would have to say these hateful things. But there was a girl that posted a video and she had like her eyes were really far apart and she was so pretty, like very unique looking, but gorgeous and no makeup, just totally natural, just being herself. And she had clipped a video of somebody commented fetal alcohol syndrome question mark.
Wow.
She got on there and she was so confident, like literally not phased, not angry, like nothing. And all she said was the essence of her video was like, I'm not going to address this person because it's not necessary, but I will address this comment. And she's like, I have been on the internet. I'm 32. I've been on the internet for 20 years since I've been 12. I have heard every comment. I've heard this one, I've heard that one, I've heard this. I look like Sid from Ice Age, like anything and everything. I have heard it. She said, but let me tell you something. I love my eyes. And she said, because my parents have my eyes, my grandparents had my eyes, my grandparents' had my eyes, and this is a part of my ancestral DNA. And that I am grateful and proud to be able to carry with me in this lifetime. And when I have kids, I hope they have it too. And it was just so powerful the way
Yeah.
that it's like we are so horrible to ourselves, specifically when it comes to the way that we look. But what about all of those amazing people that came before us that we share that a piece of them in this
Mm-hmm.
walk of life. And when
Yep.
we look, I know when I look back on pictures of like my grandparents or my great grandparents, my God, it's going to make me emotional. I see myself in them, and I never once thought, "Oh, they're hideous." I always like thinking like, "Oh my God, my grandmother was so beautiful. Oh my God,
Mm-hmm.
look at her, like her eyes are just sparkling." And it's like, ooh, it's just so sad, the way that we've lost touch with who makes us who we are, you
Yeah.
know?
I love
Yeah.
that so much. Just it's those little reworking of our thoughts can
Mm-hmm.
do so much because it really is like I've like you just said, Carrie, I have never looked at them and saw their flaws. I've only seen their most beautiful attributes.
Yep.
And then with that also comes the beautiful memories of who they were as a person, which also a
Mm-hmm.
lot of us carry. We
Yeah,
learned how to be through them. And
yeah,
when we kind of think of ourselves in a way that we would think of other people, we can only learn to love ourselves more.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
I'm
And I
really glad
have
you
to
shared that.
It helps me too because, like with my kids, they're an extension of me and they look like me, and especially my
Mm-hmm.
son. Leanna looks a lot like her dad, but like I look exactly like my mom. And my mom spent most of my childhood talking bad about herself in front of me. And it's like you have to think like on a subconscious, and it wasn't intentional, like of course it's not intentional, but you're talking about how ugly you perceive yourself to somebody that looks exactly like you
Mm-hmm.
and your child, so I have never, I can honestly say, and this has been a huge working for me, like something I have been very conscious and aware of, like hyper conscious and aware of, is I have never talked bad about myself or my body in front of my kids ever.
Yeah.
Ever. Maybe I'll do like a little drawing and I'll be like, oh, that doesn't look good. But when it comes to like my physical appearance and who I am, it ain't gonna happen. And it's hard sometimes. And sometimes I like start to, and then I have to catch myself
Mm-hmm.
because they're listening, you
Hmm.
know, they're
There
Yeah.
was
listening to
one time our niece was she wanted to put makeup on, and she was with my mother-in-law. So she said she really wanted to put on lipstick and sparkles so she would be pretty. And
Anna
she
says
said to
that.
her, yeah, and so she said to her, she said, well, we are beautiful. We are beautiful as we are, and the sparkles and lipstick, they just add some color, but we're already pretty. And it
Yeah.
is that conversation
Mm-hmm.
because we think that way. And it's like
Yep.
subconscious just being like, all right, let's go make ourselves pretty as if we aren't already.
Right.
And 4 years old, they have that
Yes.
4.
Yep, she was
4.
4. Mhm.
And because, you're never going to see somebody on TV in their pajamas and no makeup. Like everything is, it's just everything that they absorb is about
Mhm.
physical attraction and
Yeah.
being pretty. So that's why you have to even be more aware of the things that you say, because that's my daughter. She loves makeup. She loves all the accessories. And I also want to empower her in those things too. If that's her interest,
Yeah.
then that's okay. But, we also can't like hold our standards put our standards on everybody else, or like
Mm.
what makes
Right.
you happy might not make somebody else happy.
Right.
And there is a girl in her school that wears makeup to school, and Leanna, it gets really upset with me because I don't let her wear makeup to school. She can wear it around the house. And she's like, well, so and so does it. And I'm like, dude, you are 4 and you're already comparing yourself to other girls in your
Right.
class.
Right.
Yep, it starts so
Mm.
soon. It really, really does, and it's scary. It
It
is really
is.
scary.
But you can't protect them. Like there's
I
not like
know.
what do you do? You can have
Right.
those conversations at home, but like you can't be with them every single second
Mhm.
to nip
Well,
things or to counteract what they, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
ugh,
And I
it's
mean,
so
and
hard.
they are living their own life and human experience. They're going to have to be like in these real life situations and having these things so
Mhm.
then they know how to deal with it when you have the conversations with them. And like there's nothing wrong with feeling happy, dolling yourself up and putting on
No,
makeup. Like if that is what makes you happy. I have friends and listen, they're probably going to look like they do now in their 80s because they do love their makeup and their skincare routines. And I honestly wish I loved it as much as they did. I look at
Mhm.
it and I'm like, oh my God, 10 more minutes between me and my bed? No, thank you.
I
But like
know.
they just really love trying different like skincare things. And I think that's great. I
Yeah,
really don't think it's like a superficial thing. Like it's just something
no.
that brings them
And
joy.
that's something I've been
Right.
really getting into too, is like, skincare, and I
Me
feel
too.
good like sitting at my
Yeah.
vanity at night. Like I did that last night after my shower, and I feel clean and I feel refreshed, and I'm putting on my serums, I'm putting on my night creams. Like, like I did feel really good because it's not superficial. I'm taking care of myself. I'm taking
Right.
care of my
Right.
skin. And
Right.
that's a good thing.
Mhm.
And it's okay if you want to put on makeup and feel good in your own skin. That's not it at all, but it should not be like I don't know what's the word. Like
The mask.
we yeah, it's
Yeah.
like I actually had it, and if y'all have deities that you work with, and they can really help you with your self-love journey, like majorly,
Mhm.
if you just ask for it. And there's so many goddesses that are just amazing with the self-love healing journey. And I don't know who was in my ear this morning, but I was getting ready, and I'm going live today. I'm doing stuff. And I haven't really been like, I've just been kind of wearing t-shirts, yoga pants, like that. I'm a mom. Like that's my life. Like I want to be comfortable. So I was getting dressed, and I just literally heard like, you deserve to look pretty today. Like you deserve to put on a nice shirt. And that's not me. Like I can tell you that was not me because I wasn't even thinking about that. So I'm like, okay, I guess I'm putting on a pretty shirt today. But I
Well, the
did, and
shirt
it
is pretty, but you are also pretty, Carrie.
made me feel
Yeah.
good, So it's like, and then some days your yoga pants and your sweatpants are going to make you feel good. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So just leaning into really your emotions as you're
Mhm.
going through this journey, and like allowing yourself to feel. But goddesses can really help. Oh my gosh, they can really, really help. And yeah, goddesses. That's my tip. Work with goddesses.
I love that.
What a ride, though. I didn't
It
expect to cry.
that was so I love that. I'm really happy you shared that because I've never thought about that before.
Me either.
And we hear those comparisons all the time. Oh my gosh, you look so much like your mom. And I never really think about piecing that
Together.
self-love to, yeah.
Because I think my mom is beautiful. You know what I mean?
Me
Yeah.
too.
and we're all spinning images of our mothers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I did. It's funny once I realized that I had my dad's smile, I appreciated it more.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like I recognized it and I was like, I like that. That's something you can just be, I like that about myself.
Absolutely.
So hard to say, but maybe it's easier when we talk about it in a reference of someone we love.
Yeah.
It's a start. It's a start.
And have you ever thought about, like, we always do altars for other, for deities that we work with or whatever. But I mean, why not have a little altar for yourself? What's wrong with that? A little tiny corner of your house just to honor you and your
Yeah.
journey. I think
Mm-hmm.
that, whew. But don't give up. There's highs and
No.
lows.
Yep.
And, just love yourself through all of it. That's just try your best just to give yourself that compassion.
And there's help. There's workbooks, there's classes like Emily and Becky, our listeners, like then when they launch it, there's places you can find community because it can feel lonely and it is very hard to do yourself. But we're not doing it alone. Every single person has these thoughts, these feelings, and these bumps in their journey with self-love. And so like
Yeah.
find people to lean on. And
Yeah.
And lean on spirit too. I mean, they're
Mhm.
they're here to help us, and
Absolutely.
they can give you ideas and they can kind of help alchemize energy, and just kind of sitting with spirit can really get you out of like a lot of funks. At least for me it does. So
Mm-hmm.
that was a good episode.
It
Yeah,
was.
I really liked that. I feel this is well, for me, this is my self-love sessions. Like it's
Yeah.
nice
Mm-hmm.
when we get to
Yeah.
talk through things that can be really hard to talk about.
Yeah.
Yeah. Agreed.
So thank you guys.
Yes. Thank you to our listeners too
Yes.
Yes. Thank
can't wait to
you.
hear we would love to hear too. Can they comment on our videos and stuff?
Yes, so on YouTube, you can comment on our videos. So yeah, if people want to tell
Yeah,
us
I would
what
love
they
to hear
do.
how they love themselves, and
Mm-hmm.
if there's anything that we didn't talk about that maybe
Mhm.
has helped them along in their journey that they would want to share. We would love to hear it.
Yeah, because then anybody listening who's not sure can go to the comments and see what other people are also doing.
Love it.
Perfection. All right, let me try and remember this since I did it last week. Thank you everyone for being here. Real quick reminder, we have our sponsor Bite Tag. So you can still get 15% off of your orders with Team Spirit Pod. And again, actually quick story of why this would be so important. While I wasn't here recording, we found a dog on the side on the road and picked him up. Thankfully, he was like the best dog, but he had a collar but no tags. Take him to the vet. They scan, find a microchip, but there is no name. The person's phone number wasn't connecting. Like we couldn't leave a voicemail, nothing. So we just kind of had this dog. And thankfully, the vet gave us the name of the person who was attached to the microchip. And so I Googled it and I found their home address. And that is how we got the dog back. But when you use Bite Tag, on their collar has the little QR code. And so if he had it, I could have scanned it and found them literally immediately because like he was right near his house, but he was in the middle of the road.
Mm-hmm.
We had no idea. So this is why you should have Bite Tag, people. So thank you for joining us. You can find us on Instagram and TikTok at Team Spirit Podcast. Carrie and Emily are also on Instagram and TikTok, and they go live on TikTok. Carrie can be found at Clarity by Cam, CAM, and Emily at Enchanted Mystic by MK. And stay tuned for Emily and Becky's classes coming up because we love self-love.
We
Me
do.
too.
Mm-hmm.
You guys.
Yes, thank you. See you next time.